Hi, my name is Grace Stokman, and I currently live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I graduated from Hillsdale College in 2021, and I'm currently working in property management for a commercial real estate company.
And how did you get into that field? Was it something you had kind of intended when you were going to studies?
No, not at all. No, I got the job in February of this year, and I got it through a mutual friend of Hillsdale who worked for the same company, and it really just fell into my lap. I went to school I studied German, and then I minored in economics. And I studied a lot of different things at Hillsdale because it's a liberal arts school. You study art and music and history, and you really get a wide spread of things. So, no, I never expected to see myself in property management. I am not incredibly organized or detail oriented. And that is basically like the main points of the job. So, yes, it definitely just fell into my lap.
So a lot of people in the exhibit are, more in the mid or late level of their career, and you're at the start of your career. And I'm just curious, so having a job you didn't intend, and maybe still discerning exactly where you fit in this big picture. Where do you see the value for you in the work that you do, and where do you see the questions sort of arising for where you should go next, or where you should continue to go?
I see a lot of value. Well, first of all, it's been really interesting, just like how humbling it's been to be at a job where I don't really like, because that's the question that everyone asks you, especially, once you're an adult and you're out of college, that's the next question is like, oh, what do you do for a living? And what do you do? And it's always very humbling to say that I work in property management because it's not at all, like, it doesn't line up with my other interests or what I studied, or just, yeah, like my temperament. So it's been really humbling to say that and kind of be at that point in your career where you don't know where you're moving forward. And I totally haven't found my place in the workforce, or like what like my vocation looks like inside the work field. So it's interesting and really like humbling to say that and to be at that point in your career. And for finding value in my work, I ask myself this question a lot because I do a lot of computer work, and it's not very clear to me how those just like daily operations and what really like fills most of my time, how that has value in the world, especially, yeah, just like it's other than the fact that it brings value in a very economic way. Like, yes, property management makes good money, and commercial real estate is a great business to be in. So that's always been a question of mine, is like, where does the value lie in my work? And one thing that I found, which has been humbling in a way, and also just I see it as a sign of maturing, is that there's value in learning to work and learning how to do things well, apart from like taking away any romantic ideals that I have of like finding my job and where all my skills really thrive and where like my talents shine and stuff. But there's something really good in doing good work and completing a task and doing it really well. And I think it's been interesting to see that that question always is there, even in my computer work and even in my like creating spreadsheets and looking at the data and like numbers and money and budgets and all that, is that I can either look at those things and say, okay, I have to get this done, just do it, do it, do it. Or there can also be a question of like, how do I do this well? Because there's a huge difference between doing a spreadsheet and doing it poorly, and doing a spreadsheet and doing it really well. And that question I know catches me during my workday. And I do see that as a way that I'm engaging in my work. And it's a moment where something truly human is engaged in your work, no matter how mundane it seems, or if it's all in front of a computer, or you don't like it, or I don't see the connection between the rest of my life. There's still, I think, that question, which has come up a lot more in the last like month or 2 months at my work. Like, how do I do this well? Like, is there, I can do this, yes, but is there a way to do it like more beautifully, or in a way that, can I write this email in a way that is more understandable to this person reading it, and so they have an easier day? Or there's just so many ways that you can ask that question, and that is where I find myself being more human in front of my work, I guess, which has been a huge gift. Because at first it's so easy to clock in and clock out and try not to engage that much, because I don't like computers, or I don't like that kind of work. Um, so yeah, that is something like a question, and something that I've seen myself asking a lot more. And then the next thing too is that work, whether you like your work or you don't like your work, or yeah, whatever, however I feel towards my work, there's definitely an element that work puts me. I've been thinking about it, and it really does, it like puts me into the heart of the world in a really real and like practical way. And like this heart of the world is made up of like the security officer at our building, who I've grown in friendship with a lot, and like all of the like the landscapers that come to our property, and the accountants, and all of our tenants at our office building. It really like work, because work is a duty, and I've learned a lot about like duties and responsibility and being an adult, and that it puts you like into the heart of the world in a really intimate way, and that like you have to respond to people that you maybe don't want to respond to, and you have to give yourself in ways that maybe you don't want to give yourself. Um, which is it's been really good for me to see the difference between my engagement with people and things versus now versus it was in college.
First of all, are you familiar with the quiet quitting? Have you seen anyone sort of, friends or classmates or colleagues that may have been responsive to something like that?
So, or by quiet quitting, do you mean that specifically in response to having to do hard things or things that they don't like, they're kind of quitting and giving
Yeah,
up?
basically, or doing the bare minimum. Basically, doing the bare minimum to not get fired is the way I view quiet quitting. And sometimes it's because the expectations, maybe for too long, have been, hey, we really need you to triple up on a job. And sometimes it may also be because someone's taken a job, and they're sitting there on Zoom meetings all day and wondering like, why am I doing this at all? So
Yeah. Yes, I see that a lot in people my age. I would say just the idea of quiet quitting, and also just this pushback against the workplace, that the workplace does not demand, like, I can work remote if I want. There's so much, we just see the workplace as having so much more flexibility and so many more opportunities, that, and I totally, that was my approach too with getting this job, that I don't have a duty to my job really. I'll clock in, I'll clock out. I'm not going to like spend time investing in learning how to do this really well. That was definitely my approach at the beginning. And I see that a lot in different people that I talk to. I just talked to a girl at work the other day, one of our landscapers, and it was basically, she said, like, if I don't get enough PTO to take all these vacations that I want to take this year, I'm going to quit. Like, like my life is so much bigger than working this job. And if my job isn't going to let me do these things that like prevent me from living life in the way that I see life happening, then I'm just going to quit, because it's just a job. So that tension is definitely real in a lot of people, and a lot of young people just entering the workforce. And I think it's a really important question, because it does push back against, I hear my managers say that a lot too, that like this younger group of people going to work, like they don't feel any compulsion or need to like prove themselves at their job, which both results, I think it both results in people who maybe don't do very good work, and that don't understand the meaning and value of doing good work, even if you don't want to do it. But there is also a question that everyone now has to ask of like, why do we work? And why should I go into the office every day if this isn't where like the meaning, like maybe where I feel happy or where I feel joy. Like, why would I give my time to this thing? So I think it's a really important question. And it's, yeah, I've definitely begun to learn and understand parts of it by continuing to work. And I think that like that commitment to work has let me answer the question more honestly too, because I love bouncing around and going to different jobs all the time. Like summer college jobs were my favorite. Like you just clock in for 2 months, then you're like out, and then you just like learn a lot of new things, but you don't have any like duty or responsibility really to it. So, working full time and at a job that I don't like has definitely helped me answer that question of why we
Yeah,
work,
so
why we work.
so it seems like you have sort of a very positivist attitude, right? I mean, you have this tension and you decide to lean into that tension. And some people have this tension and maybe are choosing to lean back on that. Do you think one's better than the other? Do you think they both lead to happiness, just different types of happiness, or where if you, I mean, I know you can't put yourself exactly in someone else's shoes, but you obviously chose one over the other. So you know, do you think it could work either way, or what is the best response there?
I mean, it's been good to just like learn how to look at something in the face and approach it and forget. I think looking outside it, like teaching myself to look outside of myself and say yes to something other than me. Like it does take the saying like life is gift and everything is gift. Like if I believe that everything is gift, and if I believe that in the most like radical and extreme way that like really truly everything is gift, then like I want my understanding of what a gift is to be broken and to have a much wider view of what it is to be a gift, because sometimes the gifts are really joyful and I love them and they're easy to accept and to understand. But then a gift, like by definition, a gift isn't like for it to be easy and comfortable too. Like a gift is just like that it's given by someone else. And like to be able to learn and see that things that are hard can be given and they're still a gift. And that in some way they're still for me, whether or not I see and understand them. Like I want to live that way of accepting gifts in my life versus choosing to not pursue something anymore or to run away from something because it's too hard. Like I would rather be like have my understanding of what life as gift means to be much bigger and to be new versus like following an idea of what I think life should look like. Like I should always love my job. My job should always be relatively easy. Like I should always kind of excel at my job because it fits my skills. But like life is gift. It's not like life is always really comfortable. And that's been really a huge part of my job and learning to see that and wanting and learning to see it and just wanting to see that more. There's so much more that's asked of you as an adult. And you just like it's a big lesson to just say yes to them. And like it does, and I want to see it too as like I'm living in the mystery. Like somehow it's capital M mystery, but right now for me it's like lowercase m kind of where I can't just say no, like due to like the circumstances that we live in, like 21st century, everyone has to do taxes. You can't live off the grid. All these things, like all these practical things that it's somehow a mystery to me. And I'm definitely like in the middle of it. And it takes a lot of like trust to just keep saying yes to it. But from my own experience too, that like those are like I value that more. I value saying yes to those things more because they've led me somewhere else. Like they've led me towards something that I find more true or more fulfilling than just like being like having an easy Saturday or like having a Saturday where I don't need to ask these questions of myself or like at least they're asking questions of me, like these really practical things. They force me to ask the question of why more than I ever would have, even if I don't like the things that they ask me to do. Like that question is still there. I don't know, it does, it forces you to ask, like, what does it actually mean to be human or, like, to live a human life? Because, like, to be happy is an easy answer until, but then, like, that what it actually looks like to be happy needs to be understood, and, like, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis is so much more interesting than, like, what you thought it would be, of just, like, you don't have to do what you're at what you only have to do what you wanna do, and you only have to, like, it's so much more diverse and just different.
One thing on doing this project, a couple things. One, there's no average person, so we kind of plucked, obviously, people that we just sort of knew that we thought were interesting, but we had never spoken to them about these subjects. And when people start sharing why they do what they do, and and what is hard about it, and what is beautiful, and how their faith applies, you get these answers that you realize, like, wow, so there isn't like, okay, well, let me find this person, they really represent the average young person, or they really represent the average retired person. And you might be able to draw those type of themes, I think, if you kind of boil it down. At the same time, everyone has their sort of their own approach. And the other thing I found is, and that's okay, because, like, when you heard, like, Stacy, for example, and Dr. Hannah, Dr. Hannah is like wanted to be a veterinarian when she was born, and Stacy, obviously, and Randy, and David, who had, like, very strong compulsions towards a passionate project, right?
Yeah.
And then you have other people that are sort of like, hey, why are you an investor? I'm not sure if you would have saw Guido Carnates, but Guido is an investor, and he turns $1 million companies into $1 billion companies. And I mean, it was beautiful, but you ask him, why do you do this? And it was like, well, I kind of graduated, and I got this job, and that job led to this job, and these people broke off, and I did that job. So at some point you listen to him, you're like, so you're making $1 million companies $1 billion companies. And that was never the plan. It wasn't like I really had a lot of passion about high-end Western wear. It was like, it was almost like Shark Tank type thing, where, he sort of saw it, and he was like, hey, this is good business, I think I can double it. And so he, teamed up or bought it from the owners. And so and that's okay, right? Some people sort of have this draw towards something that's truly a passion of theirs, and some people find something that maybe wasn't a passion, but they're passionate about something else.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's really true, and I think it's interesting too, because it's, like, that difference in people, or just, like, the investor versus someone who doesn't. Like, there's so many people who have to do work that they don't wanna do, and they don't make a lot of money, and there's people then who do work that they don't wanna do, and they make a lot of money, and it's interesting to, or just, like, how do I not be jealous of that? Or, like, how don't I feel, like, envious towards either people's, like, certainty in their job, or just their ability to, like, check out, or not check out, but just, like, they're okay doing something that they don't really wanna do, but it, like, makes money. And I don't know, like, that's the part too that I think has to be connected to your vocation. Or, like, if I don't understand that work is somehow meant to draw me to Christ, then it does just become kind of like a rat race, or, like, I will be really jealous of people, and I will become bitter because I don't understand what I'm doing, or why I'm doing it. If I don't understand how it's connected to something bigger, because I don't know, or else I would, and, like, still struggle with that, I guess, to not be jealous or envious. But I don't know. Yeah, because it's
That's beautiful.